Hi there, it's Alan here from danumblades. I just want to go through a bit of a video talking about the different handle materials that I've used and on what I use on my knives. Also, what I'm going to try and do is with each of the materials, I'm going to put a couple of pictures of knives that I've made with those materials, so it gives you a bit of an idea, because some of the blocks, the way that they're patterned, it's difficult to tell what they'll actually look like once the knife's finished. So I'm going to start off with some G10. Now G10 is sheets of like a fiberglass material. This one is a 1.5mm. Comes in various different thicknesses, various different colours, but generally they are one particular colour, or it might be layered up sheets of two different colours. So like for example, this one is a lime green, but it's layered up with sheets of black. So thin piece of lime green and a thin piece of black all layered up. I have used it as a handle material, so I'll stick a photo in as well. Similar sort of thing, but with orange and black. But majority of the time I use it as the thinner pieces as a liner material, which is ideal to go between the tang of the metal of the blade and then the outer handle material, which it can either be a thicker piece of G10 or some other piece of material. Going on to my next ones that I've got here, so got all these from Carbon Waves. Again, it's a carbon fibre material. This one, it's got like a white liner on the inside of it. Now that actually glows up red in the dark once it's loaded up with some light. Again, from the same place, I've got this one. Great big orange sheet, but this one does glow in the dark. If you saw the last video where I was talking about what I was doing, sort of like a workshop Wednesday, where I've used this on one of my rose stalkers, and again, like I say, once you load it up with some UV light, put it outside for a bit, bring it inside, you can tell the difference. It really does glow up. So that's a decent piece. Quite a thick piece. I can get it sort of thicker, sort of like, I think it's an 1/8 of an inch, which works out about 3mm, which should work as a liner as well, so it could use an orange liner. There's a few other colours as well available. Again, it just adds up onto the cost of a knife. Next one is Juma. Now, a type of acrylic, I think it is. I think black Juma is what you find on the end of snooker cues, things like that. So this one, got a bit of a patterning on the inside of it, so it's almost like a snake skin effect. Various colours available for it, so like I say, green, pink, black, sort of like an orangey, reddy colour, blue. Another sort of material, similar, but it's got a slightly, well, I'd say a larger, scalier pattern, so almost like a crocodile skin on that one. Got that one in a few different colours. Most of these, what I end up buying is, if I need to get one piece of material, I might just buy myself a few, just so I've got a bit of a stock and it got an array of materials that I can try out. Next one, Kyranite. Kyranite comes in various different colours, usually all these swirly effects. The one at the back is sort of like a pearlescent colour, so solid colour, but it's got a bit of a wave on the inside of it. The other colours that I've got here are red and black, sort of a green and black. These ones, I think they're called a jungle camouflage and a desert camouflage, which is sort of like a brown swirl. But again, all sort of like swirl sort of patterns on them. Kyranite also make, I'm throwing them about all over the place. Kyranite also make sheets of glow-in-the-dark material. This one, obviously, it's green, but they've got sort of various colours. So almost to a white, that'll glow up green, sort of an off-white colour again, and then through to the green itself. They'll all glow in the dark. You can also get a pink Kyranite glow in the dark. Again, various pearl colours, plenty available. If I don't have them in, hopefully I can get hold of what particular colours you want. Next one we're going to is micarta. So micarta is laid up material. So in this case, it's a green canvas micarta. Again, same again with this one, more of an olive drab sort of colour. I've got a black micarta, but you can also get, there's paper micarta, denim micartas. I'm just trying to think what else. Oh, the burlap was the other one. So Hessian sacking. Again, they can layer it up in different colours. Various people make them. Sometimes it's a case of trying to drop on the right colour that I want for a particular job though. So that's that one. Moving on to the next one. Again, another acrylic. think they're an acetate type of material, these ones. This one, I think, well, looking at these ones, so generally it comes in a big block, so it's ideal for making like duck calls and things like that in that sort of size. Cut them down, they're ideal handle materials for knives. Quite often, I would say this green sort of colour is probably one of my most popular. However, I do want to try and find something like that that's orange, because I think that'll make a really good set of handle scales that stand out really well. At the minute, the only ones I've seen is sort of that sort of pattern, which is orange but with like a black on the inside of it as well. I can't remember, I think Hogs or something like that it's called, but it's one that I've used before. I'll stick a photo in again. Again, this green pattern, I've used that quite often. It's probably the one material that I've used the most on any knives is sort of like, it's that sort of like perforated material with the green resin on it. Again, various different colours, styles that can get hold of. If you're after any particular colour, I'll try and find it. I've got this one here that's black with the white lines on the inside of it. I've got I might have used it though, but it was white with the black lines on the inside of it. Moving on to the next one. So this one, it's like acrylic. Again, you can see the patterning on the inside of it there. So that's like, I think it's called Inferno. Yeah, Inferno, that one. Red, orange and yellows on there. Another sort of material, again, well, same material, but silver, yellow, blacks colours. Again, various different colours, variations in that one. It's difficult to tell. You can tell with some of the blocks how they're going to look once they're polished up. Sort of that one. It doesn't really stand out, but when it's polished up, it really is a nice material. I'm going to say with this one, Inferno, how it's been cut, it's sort of blended in slightly, but once that gets sanded down, once it gets shaped, you really see the patterning on it. And again, I'll put a couple of photos up. Next one looking at is the hybrid materials. So hybrid materials generally using a stabilised wood and then using resin to make it into a full block. So this one, I believe this one's lime that I used on this one. So a lime burl, been stabilised, and then put it into a mould and added the purple resin to it. And I've got a couple of those ones that I've made out of a similar sort of piece. Another sort of style that I've done is where I've just used that one definitely is a bit of elm, again with the block in it, but one that I've done quite often is using pine cones. So I've used a couple of different kinds of resins. This one's like a slow set resin, which I found that works really well with the pine cones, as long as it's one solid colour, because when you start mixing pearlescence powders and what have you, the slow setting powder settles out at the bottom of it, so it doesn't work as well. So it's usually ones that set sort of like within 12 hours I'd use for that one. This one's like a 3-day setting one, but it does help get rid of all bubbles, because you can get little inclusions on the inside of it. When I'm making it, what I'd usually do is fill it up with some super glue and then sand it over again just to fill them all up. That one's going to get cut down and have some white liners and then some orange liners added to it. So when I split that in half, hopefully the white liners will really show up this amber colour of the resin, and then it's going to have some roebuck pins added to that one as well. So hybrids, there we go, there's a piece. That's what it looks like. I've done plenty of those. If you've watched my videos before, you'll have seen them, and if you follow us on any of the social stuff. So the centre of the pine cone shows up visible on the outside handle of the knife. This one here, just an offcut of some Buckeye burl. Hopefully I should have a couple of knives sorted in that. I've got one that's it's glued up, and I've got another set of scales that are glued up with some liners on, so hopefully they'll be almost ready. I would say with another thing with these pine cone ones, I've got quite a few offcuts, so what I'm going to be doing is sticking a few of these offcuts up for sale. So if anybody's interested in any, just give us a shout and I'll try and sort something out for you. So that's all looking at the different types of acrylics. So the benefit of using these sort of materials is that they're very stable, ideal for you putting on knives. They're going to get used outdoors, they're going to get wet, washed quite often or whatever, because they're not going to move, they're not going to swell up with heat, which you can get with sort of like organic materials. So saying organic materials, looking at good old wooden blocks. Now I always try and use stabilise blocks wherever I can, and I've got a little bit of a setup for myself to stabilise, so using a vacuum chamber to get all the air out of the wood. They're set within a resin, so air is removed from the wood and then the resin seeps back into the wood. I also put it into a pressure pot to force that resin back into it. This is a bit of spaltered beech. I'm quite fond of using spaltered beech. I love the black lines inside it, and whenever I can find a piece of wood that's got plenty of patterning in, I always try and get hold of it. Bog oak, that's been stabilised as well. Some woods take to stabilising very well, some others don't. So you get some hardwoods that the grain might be too tight, or it's a very oily wood, so therefore it doesn't stabilise. But if you can dry them out, get all the moisture out as much as possible, then put them into the vacuum chamber, get the resin into it. It makes it a heavier piece of wood because you've got that resin inside there. Also helps it be a bit more stabilised when it's actually used, so therefore it can cope with getting wet and dried and warmed up and cooled down more often. Another one that's been stabilised is another piece of beech, this one. So it's been stabilised with a dye inside the resin, so as the air's been taken out and the resin's gone back in, the wood's been dyed, so you get a little bit of patterning on the inside of it as well. What else have I got in this box? There we go. This is a piece of wood that doesn't need stabilising. It's desert ironwood. So this stuff, I mean, as you can tell by the name, it's a very heavy, stable piece of material. Close grain, a little bit of oil on the inside of it. It makes a nice, and it polishes up really well as a handle material. Another bit that I've got here, so that's Turkish walnut. Walnut obviously used for gun stocks, so if you can find a gun stock maker that's got offcuts, ideal for having nice bits of wood for making handle material with. Again, I try and stabilise it up. It's quite a light wood, so stabilise it up, polish it up, comes up really nicely. Another wooden sort of material, so a laminated wood. So these blocks have got multiple different colours, again used for rifle stocks. So if you've got a rifle stock of a certain laminated material, use a similar sort of colour to make handle scales to match up with your knife, so your knife matches up with your rifle. But looking at all these, this isn't an exhaustible amount of what materials can use for knife handles. There's plenty out there, there's loads of different variations. So if you ever get in touch with us and say, right, I need a particular colour, what I can do is try and get an idea of all the different materials that are available in that particular colour, show you some ideas and see which ones you prefer. Again, the blocks that I make myself, so the pine cone ones and what have you, I can usually try and match it up to a colour preference that you prefer. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview of what is available. Like I say, there's plenty of them. So if you do want something making up, give us a shout. All my stuff's on social, email's probably down below in the details. Other than that, guys, thank you very much. I'll catch you later.